Okay, it's Lindsay again, and it's March 24th, 2023. It's Friday, and I'm continuing with what I was just talking about. My video got cut off. So back to the gaslighting thing. Like I just said, I found those rosary pieces here on my table, which is, like I said, that's a gaslighting because I know that those little beads that I just, where did I put them? Were on a different table, okay? And so that's an example of gaslighting. That's when, what is gaslighting? Gaslighting is when somebody comes into your home and they rearrange things in a subtle way so that you notice that things are rearranged or missing, but it's really done in a subtle way, and so it's made to make you look crazy and delusional. That's what the perpetrators, or narcissistic people do to their victims to try to make you look crazy. It's called gaslighting, and that's a common thing that happens with I don't know where they went now. What the fuck did I? That's what a oh, here they are. These little beads that, like I said, these were on my desk that I use, my table slash desk office area. These were over on a table over here. I have a glass table. I'm going to point out where they actually were. There's a table over here that I have. That table right there. See that glass table? Okay, these beads were on that table. And so I don't know how the fuck they ended up over here on, well, how they ended up on my desk table, my tabletop. Gaslighting, illegal entry. Every time I arrive, every day, just about every single day that I arrive back to this home, the door is unlocked. Okay, my front door is always fucking unlocked, and I know for a fact that I lock the door when I leave. I actually always double check that the door is locked when I leave, and so this keeps happening, and that's been going on now, especially since, for a long time, but especially since my uncle passed away. Okay, so back to that bizarre situation. So my uncle passed away this past February. He lived in Kerrville on a piece of property on a floodplain, actually. Several acres of land in an area of Kerrville. I had never been to his home in my entire life. He's been out there for probably the past 35 years at least, and that's a first. I never knew where he lived at all. All I knew was that he was in Kerrville, and that from what I heard that he, lived on some property in a small little kind of cabin house out in the middle of nowhere. That's what my mother and brother basically led me to believe, and that he was extremely, embarrassed about his living situation and wouldn't allow anybody to go there, or this, that, and the other. Well, yeah, because for years I tried to go out there to visit him, and I told him that, no, I'd like to come visit you sometime, and he would never allow me to go visit him for whatever reasons. He's got his reasons, but he's basically a man who he was how old when he was about 75, I guess, when he died. He was an Aries, born in April. His birthday is actually April 18th, and I think he was born in 1948 or something. Yeah, but he's an Aries, typical Aries male, but very much strong-headed, kept to himself, very pessimistic, very, very much kind of, level-headed, but strict. And he actually was in the Marines. I don't know how long he spent in the Marines or how long whatever, but he was in the Marines for a while. And I didn't even know that until a couple months ago that he was in the Marines. But yes, he was in the Marines. And Yeah, it's so weird that this ended up. I just can't. I'm like tripping out. How the fuck did that end up over? You know, well, like I said, gaslighting. Somebody's been in my house again. Back to so Alan died. Okay, and things have been really strange since then. I did actually find whenever I found out that he passed away, I drove out there to Kerrville and I went to the funeral home and I asked them if I could, see his body before they cremated him because I know he was going to be cremated. They wouldn't allow me to do that, so I didn't get to. They wouldn't let me do that. And I also was able to find out his address since I had no idea what his actual address was. I only knew his post office box all these years, but I did find out his address, and I was able to go see for myself where he lived in Kerrville, and so that was quite an interesting little journey. I got to see his property. It was not nearly as bad as I imagined, not at all. I mean, it was on a floodplain in a few acres of land out in Kerrville, right across from a golf course, close by a golf course in a nice residential neighborhood. So it wasn't that bad. I imagined it to be a lot worse than what it was. It really was not nearly as bad as I thought it was going to be. Okay, now the house itself was an older house that was on stilts because of the fact that it had flooded in Kerrville a few times over the years, really bad. There was a bad flood several years ago, and his home got destroyed. So he had a lot of damage when that last flood hit, which I don't know when that was, but there was a bad flood out there several years ago, and his home got completely destroyed, or a lot of damage. And so after that happened, he put it on stilts. So the house itself was, elevated pretty far off the ground, and it looked a little, whatever. It wasn't. It was just a small, very modest home, probably built in the 60s or 50s, I want to say, more or less. A small house, small wooden home on some stilts, out in the middle of some acres of and next to a floodplain, like this bridge thing, an overpass kind of thing, looking near a freeway, kind of whatever. And there are some deer running around the land, and he had a couple of vehicles, a truck, a large pickup truck, and then there was a little white, like Honda Accord thing. I guess it was a Honda Accord that he's had for a long time, that probably from the 90s, 1990 something, that was there on the property. I didn't go inside the house. I didn't have access to get inside his home, and plus I wouldn't have done that because it's not, you can't do that. That's breaking and entering, and I wouldn't have done that anyway because it's not, I respect the man. I wasn't going to go inside his house, but I did get to see his property and see the